Schedules are busy, so like I said, we really appreciate it. We are going to announce the basket winners, so if you want to, get out your lucky tickets, blow on them, pray on them, say I'm the lucky winner. All right, so we said that you must be present to win, so if someone's not here, don't throw it away, don't rip it up. You might be that lucky winner. All right, so registration table winner. Where is it? It's not. I don't even see it. Oh, here it is. Number 1. All right, ready? 509-9237. 509-9237. Jenna Henry. Come on up. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Here you go, love. Okay. I was told I had to hurry to do this. All right, basket 2. 509-7734. 509-7734. Woohoo, we got a winner. Texas Roadhouse. Hope your belly's hungry. All right, cool. Thanks. All right, basket number 3. This is a spa basket. 509-7919. Who's the lucky winner? Last 4, 7919. Back in the back. Woohoo! All right, we're coming up on fall, so we got the pumpkin basket. 509-7907. 7907. Woohoo! All right, basket number 5. Hope we're in the mood to clean. 509-7946. 7946. This is a good basket. All right. You're not looking so happy to clean. Sorry, love. All right, this is the Body Shop basket. 509-7505. 7505. Oh, hold on. Yep. Shauna M. Woohoo! All right, Tupperware, basket number 7, 709-7607. And the name is Cindy Rocky. Woohoo! This is exciting. I feel like I'm winning, and I'm not. All right, basket number 8, 509-7921. Let me see if there's a name. There is Cindy Kaufman. Woo-hoo! In the back, right there. Lucky winner, come on down. All right, we're going to Ace Hardware. What are you going to fix at my house? 509-7496. Yeah, 7496. Last 4. 509-7496. Going to Ace Hardware. There is no name. Okay, what? There is no, it must have been mine. We're picking another winner. Okay, no name. 509. Whoa. 7496. Lucky Ace winner. Whoop, whoop. All right, basket number 10. There's no name. 509-9305. I'm like out of breath. 9305. Woohoo! This one right here. The lady right down there. Oh, this is a big basket. No name. 509-8944. 8944. Oh, I'm so excited for you. It's a huge basket. All right, Red Lobster gift card. I thought you were saying mine. 509-7880. 7880. Who's taking me out to dinner? 509-7880. Nobody, really. No name. Nobody wants to take me to dinner. You are taking me to dinner. Yes. Yep. I'm excited too. Yay. All right, Applebee's. I'll get a dinner with that one too. No name. 509-7443. 509-7443. Woo! We're going to dinner. I want to get fancy at Applebee's. All right. No name. 509-7437. 7437? 509-743. Back in the back. All right. Oh, this is a good basket. It's the movie family basket. Yep, to the back. No name. Okay, this is for the backpack. And I think there's some fun stuff in here. So 509-7455. 7455. I feel like I'm on The Price is Right. 509-7455. Going once. Going twice. I got to pick another number, don't I? All right. That's even more exciting. No name. 509-7488. Did somebody? I got it. Woohoo! You are a lucky. How many baskets do you have back there? Gonna need to do an inventory. All right, this is a soft, cuddly blanket. I hope I won this. I didn't. Jenna Henry. Where's Jenna? This is so soft. I'm so upset that I didn't win that. There you go. Have fun cuddling. All right, the fall basket. Shauna M. How many baskets do you have? I'm just kidding. You got good ones. All right, can you pick that up for her? All right, going back over here. All right, we got the pickle basket. It's a green ticket. Hope they're here. 579-245. Green ticket. The pickle table. It's green. 579-245. Nobody? They're not here? Pickles are mine. I got to pick another winner. You have the bag. You do that while I do this. All right, we got the registration basket. That's really sad. That's a nice pickle basket. Okay, no name. 509-8942. 89. I heard, ooh, you got a good one. Do we have another pickle winner? I'll come back to you. I'm on a time limit. Come on. We got a name? Oh, yeah, we got a name. Cindy Kaufman. Come on down. You're the pickle winner. It's right there. I'm like this is pathetic. I am out of breath. All right, so we had a lot of good organizations here today from Center County, from all over. We had the local SCA. We had Crossroads, CRS staff. We had White Deer Run. We had Balm, Be a Loving Mirror. Many more. Calvary was here. We had all the way from West Virginia, Lead Academy. That's a hike. So we just want to thank every organization. So if you're here from an organization, can you stand up, please, so we can applaud for you? Thank you, thank you, thank you. We had St. Joseph's here as well. We would not be able to do this event without the support of everyone in the community. So for all the people that brought out their family and friends, thank you as well. Okay, so at this time, I am, did the DA leave? I can't introduce him then. All right, I'm gonna introduce Stacy Karshner. She's from Be a Loving Mirror. She's gonna tell you about her program. Stacy?
So I don't have much time, so I had to make myself little bullet points. Since I don't have much time, I had to make myself some bullet points. So if I'm looking down, I apologize. So my name is Stacy Karshner, and I'm a Balm Family Recovery Life Coach. Balm stands for Be a Loving Mirror. I help families who are affected by another's substance use disorder. I help them regain their peace and calm. learn new ways of acting and being, find hope, and then become their loved one's best chance at recovery. So the balm evolved around the fact that those with substance use disorder are human beings and they deserve love just like anybody else does. Substance use disorder touched my family, and I was introduced to the Be a Loving Mirror program about 6 years ago when I was absolutely at my wit's end. I was insane. I was doing the same things over and over again, expecting something different to happen, like many families do. My loved one's brain was hijacked to a drug, thinking they needed a drug to survive. And so the moral compass goes out the window. The choice is gone. My brain, the family's brain, also becomes hijacked. So my brain was hijacked in thinking that I could fix and I could control, and I was obsessed with results. So the family needs just as much, if not more, recovery than their loved one. The family plays a crucial role. And research shows when the family gets well, the loved one has a much better chance of getting well. So the BALM program is more than just support and education. It teaches family new skills. So when I got into the BALM, I learned how to regain peace and calm, because normally we're running around like crazy people and I was expecting other people to be calm when I wasn't calm. So when I got into the Be a Loving Mirror, and I help families do this now, you find a new perspective, new ways of acting and being and speaking to become that chief supporter rather than the obstacle, just as you would be if your loved one was struggling with any other type of illness. So we rally around them, not shunning them. So the battle, I tell family members, when I teach, that the battle is not against John. Oh, he's going to use Johnny. The battle is not against Johnny. The battle is against the disease. And another thing that the BALM teaches is, nothing changes if nothing changes. And so if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, the same thing's going to happen. So even when one family member changes, everything changes. And when you come from love, which is the core of the Be a Loving Mirror family program, other people can't help but change. And I tell family members when I teach this stuff, I tell them that we need to build connection. The opposite of substance use disorder is connection. And when we yell and we blame and we scream, we're building that toxic bond. And as I close out here, I just want to bring up the subject of rock bottom. We were told, you need to just wait till your loved one hits rock bottom. They just need to hit rock bottom. Well, we know that rock bottom is death, especially with fentanyl out there right now. It's not a matter of if they're going to get fentanyl, it's when. So I teach the family members, and I learned the family hits rock bottom. The family says enough is enough. And then we intervene and we raise our loved one's rock bottom. So that is what the BALM is about, is teaching, those family members how to intervene before things get worse. The family's not powerless. We didn't cause it. We didn't control it. We can't cure it, but we have a lot of power. We have power over how we're going to speak, what our tone is, what our behavior is, the words that come out of our mouth, what boundaries we want to set. And the family can and does make a difference, and we can possibly turn a tide. The family is part of the problem, but they are a part of the solution. And I just want to say that if you have anyone around you that is struggling, step out, get help, become the peace you wish to see, and that chief supporter. I teach free courses in multiple counties in Pennsylvania. I coach families one-on-one. If anybody has any questions about the family component, please see me afterwards. I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Yes, the family is just as important as the addict themselves. So I just want to kind of just take a couple minutes and just tell you, a lot of times when I'm out in the community, I started in this field probably about 16 years ago, and I was a counselor before I was in outreach, and now I help place those that need treatment. And a lot of times people don't know how to find treatment, or they become very overwhelmed and they don't even know where to start. So the first thing to do is just breathe And you can pick up the phone because there's so many resources. All the resources that were outside are good starters. If you have any questions, please see me afterwards. I have a direct number that you can pretty much call me 24/7. And if White Deer Run can't help you, I have other connections in the community, and we'll get that person into treatment where they need to be and place them and get them the help that they deserve. All right, so now that we did that, I am going to turn it over, and we are going to start the worship service. Take it away, guys.
All right. Before we start, I just want to say a few things. You know, when Jesus came to the earth, the down and outs of the world flocked to him, and he was there to receive them and heal them and set them free. And you know, I've been in church all my life, but I've realized that we're all prodigals. We all need to flock to Jesus. We all need his help. And so let's stand and worship the one that can set us free, all of us.
Okay, at this time, we are going to hear from Krista Henry. I met Krista about 2 months ago. Her story is pretty amazing. So let's give it up for this beautiful woman.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? This is amazing. Like, honest to God, the fact that I'm standing here in front of you tonight, the woman that I am today, is nothing short of a miracle. I've been praying a lot about tonight and what to talk about, and Romans 8:28 kept coming to mind. But we know that God works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And I believe with my whole heart that I wouldn't be standing here if he didn't put a calling on my life. So my uncle is a retired state police officer, and he was pretty high ranking. As you can imagine, without knowing much about me, that's a pretty strained relationship throughout most of my life. But in the recent years, he actually reached out to me, and he was telling me how proud he was and that I'm a true warrior. But something that stuck with me was he was telling me a story about when I was a baby, and he was holding me, and he looked into my eyes, and he was like, this girl's got it. Like, there's something special. But like, right from the beginning, when I was a baby, when he saw that in me, my life was nothing but chaos and dysfunction, just right from the start. So my parents were pretty young. My mother was 21 when she had me, 22 by the time she had 3 children, and was a full-time student at Penn State. So, I mean, that's pretty amazing, but, she had a lot of her own issues to deal with. My mother and father had a very abusive relationship, and they partied constantly. So they would get wasted and beat each other up, and it just happened in my household all the time. And one of my earliest memories is of my father throwing my mother on top of me while I was sleeping. I was probably about 4 years old. And, soon after that, they divorced, but the chaos in my life never stopped. My mother was a young single mother, going to school full-time, working to take care of us. So I think, she did the best she could, but there were definitely some situations that were less than ideal in my life. I was sexually abused at the age of 6. My mother then just continued into a series of abusive relationships, always had these abusive boyfriends coming in and out of our lives. And she was drinking constantly, so her mental health was deteriorating. And so it just made for dysfunction all the time, and that's what I knew. By the time I was 12 years old, I had smoked cigarettes multiple times, but 12 years old, I got hammered for the first time. I stole my mom's vodka, and I got drunk while she was home, but she was so drunk that she didn't even know what was going on. I got blackout drunk. I slept in my own vomit that night, and it was like just the first time I drank, it never really stopped for me. It just started the crazy train in my life. 13, I smoked weed. I was in court in Brad Lunsford's office on my 13th birthday for my first criminal arrest. 14, my mom was in rehab, in and out of rehab and jail. my father was in a severe motorcycle accident and was bedridden. So at this point, I'm 14 years old and basically, taking care of myself. And then by 15, I had done cocaine and started selling drugs. And that legitimately just became a way of life for me. But it's not like looking back, I'm like, oh, well, I really knew what I was doing. And the force of destruction that I was causing in these people's lives, I just didn't know any other way of life. And, my mother, with all of her abusive relationships, her way of coping was always through substances. So, all these crazy things are happening to me, and I want to try that too, So then 16, I was raped. I was arrested 3 different times before I graduated high school for underage drinking. By 17, I was intentionally skipping school to get in-school suspension so I could get caught up on all the work that I was missing. And that's just what I did until they finally were like, you know what, that's enough of that, you're out of here. And they sent me to what they call the RIGHT program in our area, which is probably similar to other bad kids schools in any other area. But I finished and I graduated. Right after I graduated, I moved. And that didn't last long. I'm not gonna bore you with all the details, but 19, I got pregnant. I decided to try to get my life together. I went and I enrolled in college at South Hills. But, when I was 21, I met a great guy named Dave. And he was a great businessman, but he was also a great drug dealer. And everyone knew that. But I dropped out of college, started a relationship with Dave, and we opened up Grillers. It's not funny, actually. That place was it was ridiculous. The whole vibe of the place was, the whole vibe of the place was a party scene. That's all it was. I mean, we were open from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., so we were catering to the party crowd. We were all hammered, they were all hammered, and it was just ridiculous. But like I said, Dave was also really good at selling drugs, so my history of selling cocaine and weed and his history of selling cocaine and weed, we decided, well, now we have a restaurant. Instead of going legit, let's traffic more drugs. And that went on till, and I didn't know it at the time, but May of 2011, an investigation was opened up on me by the State Attorney General's office. And I really didn't know what exactly was gonna happen whenever this all came, when the cards fell. July 3rd, 2012, Scott Merrill, the head of the Narcotics Drug Task Force at the State College Borough Police Department, and 18 of his best friends showed up at my house. And, well, I wasn't there, but my kid was there. He was playing in the living room with a laser pointer whenever the cops knocked on my front door looking for me. And it's very fortunate that they saw that it was a child and not any of the other hooligans that it could have been in my house with a laser pointer while the SWAT team's trying to apprehend me. So I say all that, this is where it really gets good. June 2013, I was sentenced to 3 to 6 years in state prison. And that was truly the death of a life to me. I didn't really know it yet. I didn't really know because I couldn't comprehend everything I just told you about my childhood. All I knew was that. So just to stop doing drugs or just stop selling drugs, that wasn't the answer for me because I had to change every single aspect of my life. And when I got to Muncie it was July, that's when things really started changing in my life. God is so good that he just meets you right in your midst, So I was in classification at STI Muncie, and my cellie had a life recovery Bible. And I was like, hey, what's that? We have no books, we have nothing to do. She was telling me about this life recovery Bible, and that opened up a conversation about how she was addicted to crack cocaine in the streets. And now, mind you, I partied all the time, but I never actually saw the destruction that drug addiction can cause, like when it's really bad, until I met this woman, and she was telling me about what it was like being addicted to crack cocaine, and I was just like, oh my God, like I was doing that out there. I was the cause of that. And I don't want to say that I had no care or concern. I just really didn't realize how bad it could get. I would give people their stuff and not see them unless they wanted more stuff. And so that started changing my perspective. But also, we were locked down 22 hours a day. We're allowed out 10 minutes to eat, 10 minutes to shower, 15 minutes for a phone call, and then maybe rec if they feel like it, if it works out. And, but church, that was the other thing. And so initially, my intentions weren't to find Jesus and change my life. My intention was to get out of my cell, and that's what I did, but he really got a hold of me there. Like, I was listening, I was there. He got me to be present, and so my friend showed me how to get my own life recovery Bible, and I remember just laying there one day, and it was like the pivotal moment where my heart started changing. My life, my story is not that, like, I had this radical change, God came into my life and everything was all better. Like, that's not it for me. It actually got even uglier. But my heart started changing, and my perspective started changing at that point. And, all those things that I just talked about, I opened with the verse, Romans 8:28. God works all things together for the good of those that love him. And all of these things that happened in my life made me the person that I am today. They made it possible for me to stand here and do the things that I do, the work that I do with Mark, the compassion and caring soul that I have. I wasn't that person. I was not this person, I promise you. Like, there's some people in this room that know, that have seen me, throughout all of these years and all of the craziness, and they have to know that something's different. When I went to prison for the first time, it was the first time in my life that I actually felt peace. I didn't have to worry about how I was gonna dress that day, how I was gonna pay my bills. I didn't have to worry about what I was eating. I didn't have to worry about when I was showering. I didn't have to worry about anything. And I really think that God used that time to have my attention. So I was released, and I wish that I could say that, I stayed clean and everything was great, but that's not the case. I went home and right back to the same people. And that was my first mistake. It took me about 8 months from the time that I was released from prison till the time I was back in prison. And I just did this cycle. That time I went to jail for 9 months. I was home for 5 months and went straight back for 22 months for another violation. Throughout all this time, the only time that God really had my full attention was when I was in prison. And every time I would come home, I would find myself falling away, find myself going back to the same people, or there's like a number of reasons why that was happening, but when I ended up in jail, he plucked me right out of the mess. Like, it could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse. But he had a different plan for me. And so while I was going in and out of prison all the time, I developed a really good relationship with the chaplain at Muncie. I would meet with her every week. She probably got sick and tired of me, but I was there every week faithfully with questions, with whatever I was going through. She just ministered to me no matter what, even if, it's things I already knew. She was a wonderful, wonderful mentor. So in 2016, I was incarcerated for a period of 2 years. My mother is a crazy alcoholic. She's been out doing whatever she's been doing for all these years. Our relationship hasn't been great. Well, I find out that she's terminally ill. She has cirrhosis of the liver, and she's got a year to live if we're lucky. And you want to talk about something changing you, that changed me. That changed me right from the core. But the first thing I had to let go of was the resentment and the hate, the anger that I felt towards my mother. You know, in hindsight, my mom was just a broken person like me. And she really did do the best that she could, but she just didn't get the opportunity to do what I did with my life. And she was diagnosed with end-stage cirrhosis, and I was sitting in prison, and I had no idea. There was no end in sight. When you violate parole, it's not like you go in front of a judge and they sentence you, especially not with state parole. It's like this big, crazy, complicated system, and they do whatever they want, and they make you sit there as long as they want, and then one day you'll find the answer you've been looking for. So I had to wake up every day, call home, and not know if that was going to be the day that I called home and my mom was dead. And that's when things really just, took hold for me. But thinking about all this, I'm a mother. And I'm doing the same thing to my children that I swore I would never do. I swore I would never be like my mom. And I turned out worse. I mean, I got in way more trouble than she did anyhow. I'm still alive. But I did some crazy things. And I started putting my kids through the same things. And I just started to finally, have this shift in my perspective where I realized that, of course, they don't deserve that. But it, really, hit home this time. It's something. So fast forward, I was released from prison in February of 2018. And my mother passed away in April of that year. I was home for 2 months, and I stood by my mother's bedside and held her hand as she took her last breaths. And I made a promise that day that my children will never know what that feels like. There's just no way that you can go on and be the same person after you experience a lifetime of pain and abuse and trauma and drama and just problems all the time just to barely make it home from prison to watch your mother die. And it was right at that time that my sister and her husband were working with the ACLU, and I'm not sure how they found Mark, but somehow they all connected, and they started a reentry support group at Centerpiece. And I met Mark there. And I came out of jail with this new, fresh perspective, and I did keep my promise to myself that I would go to church when I came home, and I went with my grandmother all the time. But Mark was at this meeting, and he kept asking me to come work for him, and I have a restaurant industry background. I've never done landscaping a day in my life. And I'm like, why does this guy keep bothering me like I don't want to paint or whatever? But it was God put it on my heart. There's more to this than just a job. And as we started working together, we share the same heart to help those who have come through troubled waters like we both have. And it just slowly developed into what is now Go Reentry. And it's so amazing that, even when I was doing wrong, even when I was being an addict and coming home from prison and doing the same stuff, like slapping God straight in the face, I know better. He knows I know better. He knows I'm not that person and I can do better, but I kept doing it anyway. And regardless, His grace and mercy has, the life that I live today it's a blessing, I don't have to worry about all these crazy things I used to have to worry about. My kids are fed, my bills are paid. I go to bed at night and lay my head on the pillow and I sleep well because I'm not living the way that I used to. And I started to say about my mother, that resentment and that guilt, is the minute that I found out that she wasn't gonna make it, I found forgiveness in my heart. And I wrote her an 8-page letter that night. I don't think I slept until that thing was in the mailbox. But she died knowing that I forgave her. and that I loved her no matter what. And once I started healing that trauma with Chaplain Meckley at SCI Muncie, she would have me revisit every single thing, like all these things that I just listed, every single thing. And she invited God to come into those situations and change my perspective. She invited God to reveal the lie to me and show me the truth. So now it's like when I look at things, it's not me going through it. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's supernatural. He has come and just changed the whole way that I look at it. Like, just because I was a little girl and I was sexually abused or I was physically abused, like, that makes you think that you're not lovable. That makes you believe all these things that are just so untrue about yourself. But when you invite God into a situation, things really start changing. And I have peace for the first time in my life. I feel like... So I guess that's really about it for my story. I mean, I'm just super grateful to be able to be here, and I'm super grateful to be sober. I've been sober from narcotics for 5 years, and April was 5 years. And I haven't had a drink in almost 3 years. And I guess that brings a good point to highlight. You know, I just highlighted, 20 plus years of abuse and trauma and neglect and all of that. But in the last 3 years, just 3 years, that I've become this person. Like, none of those things happened before, or none of those things that happened before mattered. Like, I came out of prison with the money on my books. I lived in my grandmother's basement. I didn't have custody of any of my children. I didn't have clothes. I didn't have more than 2 pairs of shoes. And I was lucky to have that, But in that time, I've rebuilt my life entirely. I live on my own. I have full custody of my oldest son. I see my other children all the time, anytime I want to. I have good relationships in my life. And it's just absolutely, it's a miracle. I'll stop blabbing on and on. I'm going to introduce my friend, Lisa Kessler-Peters, and she's going to share a little bit about her testimony and her overcoming addiction.
Give it up for Krista! Didn't she do so great? You couldn't even tell you were nervous. All right. How much time do we have? I didn't look at the... 30 minutes. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. That was actually, I've known Krista for a couple of years now, I think, maybe. At least a year and a half, maybe 2 years. That's the first time I heard your story. So that was like super great. And usually I just get to hear my own story, and it's a great story. But, it's like, I actually have to read part of my book to kind of remember, because I'm so past where I used to be that I have to remember who I used to be. But as far as this Go Reentry Happier Free event, I love Go Reentry. Everything Go Reentry and State College is awesome, and I'm a huge supporter. I do not live here. I live in the Harrisburg area. But when I seen the name of the event, Happier Free, I just started meditating on the word free, because there's so many different definitions of the word free. And I'm just going to share a little bit of a couple of my definitions of what, in my perspective, of free have been. So my worldly perspective that I lived in most of my life, which we could probably relate to, is I want what I want, how I want it. I don't want to follow rules. I don't want regulations. And it's really what we portray, even and I would never speak about politics in the church, but even politically, I mean, that's kind of what we think about American freedom. It's we just want to do what we want to do, how we do, when we do. And so that's not the happier free that we're speaking of tonight. And then there's the freedom that the free that I sought after most of my life, which is a very sad free. That free for me was a free of, I wanted to be free of torment. I wanted to be free of hopelessness. I wanted to be free of the pain and destruction of the life that I had lived most of my life. And so I sought after suicide. And for people that fight with suicide ideation, there actually is this idea that you actually will become free if you are successful in committing suicide. And so it's a very sad and it's a very hard topic to talk about, but it's a very important thing to talk about because the world as we're living in right now, forever, but really in the last, since the pandemic happened, everybody in here is going through difficult things. We have all walked through, as globally, but also locally and individually in families, things are really, really hard. And if our hope isn't up and we are not staying grounded on Christ and the things of God, it's so easy, even as believers, even as Christians, to become weary and for our thoughts to go to the negative and for us just to start to meditate on things that are not of God. So I put that out there because God really just wanted me to share that it's okay. There's no shame that some of us in this room, including myself in this last season, have really struggled with why the things are the way they are right now and why they've continued on for so long, but that we need to continue to look at our tools that God has given us through Christ living in us for us to continue day by day to build our man up and for us to keep our eyes on Jesus and for our hope to be in what Christ did for us 2,000 plus years ago. So for me, I have been in prison my entire life prior to 2014. And it's a weird thing to say, but I actually was. I didn't realize that I was born in bondage. I wasn't raised in the church, so I didn't even understand the language or anything like that. But I actually was born into this life of imprisonment. And as things unraveled as a young child and there was traumatic things that happened and nobody talked about it because as in most families, we don't talk about the things that nobody should be talking about, that those prison walls became bigger and bigger and I became and I became more and more defeated and felt more and more hopeless. And by the time I was 9 years old, I was trying to commit suicide. And I don't know how many in here know my story, so I don't want to go way into the details of my story because I don't think that is truly what's important to talk about tonight. But from the time I was 9 to the time I was 32 years old, I've sought after trying to kill myself. And we just don't talk about it. Like it was silently killing me. And I tell my children and I tell everybody that I can, like, if there is something in your head telling you not to talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it to me, talk about it to your best friend, because that's what the enemy wants us to do. He wants us to be silent. He wants us to feel like we're crazy and that it's just us and that we're alone and that we are defeated and we're hopeless and nobody cares, so why talk about it? And the fact is we're all dealing with very similar things. And we all are very loved, we're very worthy, we are in this together. I don't care if we never met each other, but we are on the same team. Guess what? We win. We're on the winning team. Praise God, right? And that's probably the best part of finding out about Jesus because I lived in this hopelessness and this despair. And when I thought about dying, it wasn't even like I wanted to go to heaven. I just wanted the pain to stop. Like I literally just wanted to go to sleep and not wake up. And I don't know if everybody that fights with suicide ideation feels that way, but a lot of people do. It's just the pain of living is more intense. It seems the pain of living is stronger than the thought of what the pain of dying would be. So I'm in and out of foster care my whole life. I'll tell you my life story really quick. Nothing is consistent. In my first 18 years of life, I lived in 19 different homes, so there was nothing consistent. I was abused in every way possible. And I was very quiet. I actually only spoke when spoken to. I was not the person that would be up on the stage. I would shake and tremble and have splotches if I was asked to speak in front of the class. So this is all God, the ability that I can do this. But I didn't talk about these things. And eventually I had to go to trial with my dad to protect my younger sisters from being abused. I'm the oldest girl, but I'm one of 10 children. And my mom, I haven't lived with since I was 6. So I had abandonment issues from my mom. I had abuse and trauma issues from my dad. So I grew up and I just wanted to be different than my parents. I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I didn't have any role models. I didn't have any real models. I didn't have anybody to show me how I was supposed to do it. I just knew what I didn't want to do it as. So I went after education. That was my outlet. I got my bachelor's in criminal justice and my master's in applied behavioral analysis, which is psychology, and I wanted to figure out why we do the things that we do so that I could fix us. I wanted to fix me, I wanted to fix my family, and then I wanted to fix all of you guys. And I failed so miserably at it, as we do, because self-help doesn't really work. And so, long story short, I got married. I went after the American dream, had a business, had beautiful children, and everything was going great, and then it wasn't. Life showed up as it does, and I didn't realize that I never dealt with that trauma as my childhood. So not only did the new trauma affect me, but everything from my childhood came back. And my life unraveled so quickly. I ended up getting an injury to my head. I got addicted to the drugs, which is pretty common now of how people get addicted to heroin and opiates is by a prescription by their doctor. So that's my story. If you would have told me that I was an addict or asked me if I was an addict, I would have told you, no, I'm not. I was prescribed that by a doctor. And long story short, I ended up in prison. So I was raised an atheist. So at this point, I am in a prison cell in Dauphin County Prison in Harrisburg. And when you go into the prison, they ask you some questions, and they determine whether or not you're suicidal, some other things, and they determined I was suicidal, which they were correct in. And when they put me in a strip cell, so basically they put you in a cell by yourself and they keep the lights on, this bright light that's shining on me right now, they basically keep that on you 24/7. And they take everything from you, your glasses, your shoes, toilet paper, hygiene, you literally have nothing. And didn't give me my medications, which benzos and alcohol are the only two things that you can actually die from withdrawal of. And I was actually prescribed benzos, but I had been taking them for, at that point, 15 years daily. And it was at the point with my benzos that I would chew them. I would just pop them and chew them. And they didn't take them to me. So I'm suicidal in a cell, not getting treatment, going through withdrawal, lights blaring, feeling suicidal, trying to figure out, okay, now I really do have to die. Like, this actually is the end. Like, I know I said I wanted to die before, but like, no, like this, I can't come back from like this. Like there's no coming back from this situation. And I remember looking out the window. They have like really thick glass windows that you could hardly see out, and there was some kind of rodent outside. And I remember putting my glass on the window and crying because the rodent was more free than I was. And so I'm laying in the bed, and so the only thing I was allowed to have was my tan uniform and a wool blanket, and they have bunk beds, but I was in there by myself. So it's a metal bunk bed, and the top bunk has holes in the top of it. And I'm laying in the bed, and I'm actually, I didn't realize it, but I think I was having a conversation with Satan, to be honest with you, because I had given him so much authority in my life. Because I remember being excited about trying to figure out how to commit suicide. Like there was actually an excitability about trying to do this. And so as I'm laying there, and I'm like, well, maybe if I take the blanket and I put it through these holes, and I'm trying to think out the rationality of it, I audibly hear the voice of God. Now, I have heard the voice of God one other time in my life. I was 6, but nothing in my life added up to that, so I actually thought it was just my imagination, and God told me that I was going to have a safe haven for his children. So back to the cell. I'm in the cell, and I'm trying to figure this out, and now I tell you, I don't believe in God at this point in my life, and if there is a God, he's not a good God. Like, that's honestly how I believed. Like, that's the truth of it. And God said, I have seen everything that has happened to you. So I'm like a flash of like everything that has happened in my life. And I know you are so, so tired and you don't want to do this anymore. But if you allow me to, I will lift you up and I will give you a new life, and you won't experience any of these things anymore. And I had no idea what he was talking about. But I seen those 2 little girls' faces. Well, they were little then, they're now big girl faces. And my son's face, and I thought, how cowardice it would be for them to deal with the trauma of losing a mother, just like I grew up without a mother. And so I said yes, and I didn't know what I was saying yes to. And in that moment, I don't know how I got from the bed up, but I got from the bed, I was up, and then I was down onto the cement, screaming, crying. And is anybody in here that's given their life to Jesus, in that like soul-wrenching scream that comes from the deepest part of your soul cry, that came. And when that came off all of my addiction, it came off my mental health, it came off my physical ailments, and just the fire of God came into me, and I was like, okay, now we're getting out of jail. I'm like, basically wanted to like knock on the gate and be like, can you guys let me out of here now? So, but I was different. Like the lights were on. My glasses of my brain were clean. My soul, like I had felt so filthy dirty my entire life. And there was just this purity of white, like, not only from the things that were done to me, but also the things that I chose to do. When God said that he's seen everything that I had been through, not only did I think about what was done to me, but I also thought about everything that I did. And I was like, wow, oof, that's rough. I didn't know you were there every single moment. But that allowed me to get to that place of like that true repentance, which I never understood that. Like until you get to that point, like you can't understand what that point was. So that is how I became truly free. As the word says, when he sets us free, we are free indeed. And like Krista spoke to, there were so many things that like I agree 1,000% with you, that it doesn't mean that everything is just better. Things were super hard. Things today still sometimes are super hard. But I don't get to the hopelessness level that I used to anymore. I don't get to the point where I do pick up a drug. Like, I don't get to the point where, like, I'm shameful because of the mom I'm being. Like, if my children followed after every single thing that I do in a day, thank you, Jesus. Like, I live a life that is a good thing. And one of the hardest things for me is when I was stuck in that bondage and stuck in that sin is what the model that I was being for my children, that I wanted to be so different from what my parents were. And then ended up being just like it. But I also get to be, like Krista also spoke about her mom, my dad was my abuser. My dad was the one that did the most heinous things to me. And I actually forgave him pretty early on, but it was a contingent. There was a contingency, like most people when they forgive someone, that they want them to say they're sorry, or they want them to make it up, or they want them, and that never came. So part of me was like giving it and taking it back at the same time. And I never really got a relationship restored with my dad in the way that I wanted it to. And I pray for all my family members. And a couple of years ago, my dad, the Lord told me it was time to be reunited with my dad and my grandmother. My grandmother was equally, she had a lot to do with a lot of the pain in my life. So she was ill, and God told me to be reunited with them. And I was like, whew, okay, Holy Spirit, if you say it's time, it's time. So I showed up and I worshiped the whole way there. And it was in the supernatural, there were so much amazing, beautiful things that were going on that, like, I can't even put into words. My grandmother wasn't even able to speak, but I know that she knew, like, my spirit was talking to her spirit, and there was forgiveness, and there was peace, and there was restoration. But what forgiveness biblically means is my dad is currently passing away. And he has stage 4 cancer throughout his entire body because of his life choices, and he's only 59 years old. And what Jesus has been able to do for me is to give me compassion for him, that it's not even like, I'm not even doing it as like a mercy. Like, I truly have like this compassion and love that is unconditional, just like Jesus gives to me. That, like, me and my siblings are taking care of my father as if he was the perfect father. We are going above and beyond and making sure that everything he needs is taken care of, and that we are showing up. I brought his grandchildren to see him, and just making sure that he's being honored and he is being loved. Because the Word of God tells us to honor thy mother and thy father. And sometimes we put contingents like, oh, well, that's only if they were a Jesus-following believer. Doesn't say that in the Bible. It says to honor thy mother and their father. So, but what that has done for me is that has given me restoration. That has given me a deeper level of healing, because holding unforgiveness keeps us sick. And holding unforgiveness causes so much, like, pain and torment in ourselves. And just think, if God wouldn't forgive us, where we would all be. And that was part of the message that I didn't plan on sharing, but obviously somebody needed to hear that. So just thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming. I know it's been a long day. We've been here for a really long time. Like I said, I love Go Reentry. I love that we are knocking shame down, that we are talking about the things that nobody is willing to talk about, that yes, I was a drug addict. Yes, I've been in prison, and now I follow Jesus, and I love people for a living. And here's Mark. Isn't Mark great? Mark worked so hard. Thanks, buddy.
Listening to Krista and to Lisa, I hear before and I hear after, right? Larry, would you show a couple of those pictures? Before and after, right? A mess before and look at after. It's before and it's after. This girl right here, just let it there. This girl was a Satanist, a renowned Satanist. That's who she worshiped. That's who she believed in. She was a drug addict, and she met Jesus, and look at after. Here's somebody that's, right? After, right?
Inmate number 157879, segregated upon entry to the jail, multiple drug raids, 9-time felon, 20-plus arrests. 5 years sober, mom of 3, wife, business owner, lover of people, first felon hired at my local courthouse, helper to women, daughter to the Most High King. The grace and mercy God has poured out over my life is beyond my understanding. If he did it for me, he can do it for you.
Before and after, right? I want to close real quick. I'm not going to be here long, but I want to talk about the before. And there might be somebody here that's struggling with the before. And they might be envious of Krista and Lisa. And this lady's name is Shay and the other ones. They might be saying, I wish I could be, I want to be in the after. I don't want to do this anymore. Her story, I've talked to her on the phone a couple times. Her and her husband are amazing. This is a mother who would shoot up in the bathroom with the bathroom door locked and pass out while her kids were crying and beating on the door to get in. Or one night she talks about her being so out of it that her little boy was so thirsty he'd drink out of the Pepsi can that she'd been dipping her ashes in from her cigarette. And there might be somebody here that's just fed up with that struggle, like not being a good parent, not being a good son or a good daughter. There might be somebody here who lies and cheats and steals from people they love just for their next fix. I want to talk to you about how to get to the after really, really quick. In AA, and I'm not saying anything new, in AA, and NA, they talk about it all the time. They talk about this higher power, right? Let me introduce him to you for a second. His name's God. He's the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. He's the one who hung the stars in space. I like it when people argue and say there's no way that there could be a God. Well, I think to believe that we're here because of a big bang takes way more faith than what I have in the Creator. Do you know if the earth was just like a foot to the side, to the right or to the left, or if its axis was tipped just a little bit, we wouldn't be here. You could throw a jigsaw puzzle, a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle up in the air and it would land perfectly on the floor. That's going to happen way before. The chances of that happening are much greater than a big bang. So we talk about the pivot point, right? Krista talked about it. I've never heard the audible voice of God. I felt God talking to me and leading me to stuff, but Lisa talks about a pivot point where God just spoke to her. So if you're here and you're in the before and you want to get to the after, may I suggest to you what AA and NA say all the time, but let me make it more personal. You need a relationship with God. If you want to get from the before to the after, that's it. And so in a minute, and the band can come up. We're going to close in just a second. If you're here and you want to just, you've had enough, you're sick of just being in that rut and in that struggle, I'd suggest to you that God's the answer. And there's some people, I'm going to invite them up in a minute. They're here and they'd love to pray with you. They'd love to introduce you and talk to you about relationship with God and how that happens. But I think there's a bunch of you here that are already in the after, right? You've dealt with it. Krista and Lisa, Shauna, Kelsey. I could just name everybody. There's a bunch of you here that have already, you're in the after part of it. And as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about the importance of, I think it would be cool, like I'm trying to teach Colby, my 12-year-old, to say thank you. And maybe you're here tonight and you're in the after part of your story. I think it's appropriate. I think it's what the Bible talks about when he talks about giving thanks and worship and praise. If you're here and you're in recovery and you're doing good, you're Krista, you're 6 years. You're Shauna, you're 1 year. I think it's appropriate to just step out and say, God, thank you. Thank you for taking a mess and making it something special. So that's the challenge. And it doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol too. You might be struggling with, I don't know what you're struggling with. But if you want to take a minute and just do business with God, the opportunity's here. And so I've asked some people. Pastor Larry, I didn't ask you, but would you come up as well? There's some people here I've asked that Shauna come up, and Lisa's here, and Krista's singing. If Nancy's here, she's the chaplain at the county jail. If you want to come up and just pray with somebody, this is your chance. So I'm going to invite you to stand. The band's going to sing a song. Then we'll say goodbye. But this is your chance. If you just want to deal with God, you want to say thank you, this is your chance. As we close real quick, is there somebody that wants to pray for a family member that's struggling? If you just want to raise your hand, we're going to pray. And we're going to dismiss. Before I do that, thank you. The worship team up here has put in 4 or 5 hours getting ready. And so many people helping set up, and Josh and Isabel and Alara in the back. And I forget, Cal. Oh, man. Lila. I do that all the time, Lila. But so many people have done a lot, and I just want to say thank you. So let's pray and dismiss. Thank you all for being here. Let's start praying for next year. That, we just want it, as my mother would say, get gooder and gooder. We want to help more and more people. Father, thank you tonight for the opportunity to come and to just celebrate. We're really celebrating your love, your forgiveness, your grace, your mercy. Thank you for being the one that breaks the chains of addiction, that breaks the chains of depression, that breaks the chains or the things that are connected with suicide. Father, thank you for all you've done and all you're doing. We pray for family member now. I pray for him by name. I pray for Brian, that you would do a work in his life, that you would draw him to yourself, that he'd see you like he's never seen you before. Father, thank you for each one that's here. I pray you'll bless them real good. Thank you again for a great day. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everybody.